Hello and welcome to the Little Drops of Wonderful podcast. This is where I share regular roundups of my crochet and knitting and crafty pursuits and other lovely stuff like books and things. My name is Ali. I live in Kent in the very southeast of the UK with my husband and our two daughters, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Starry Eyes Ali. And chapter links for everything I talk about are in the description box below, as well as all the information. I try to link as much as I can. So how are you? It's February now. I last spoke to you in January, and it's beginning to feel very spring-like here in the UK. Normally we have snow in February, but it's not looking that way at the moment. I think this time last year it was snowing. Anyway, that's very British, isn't it, to start with a discussion of the weather. And I'm now going to tell you about my tea as well. I'm just going to have a slurp. Tea and the weather. I couldn't be more quintessentially British, could I? I am drinking Lapsang Souchong, which I have become a little bit obsessed with. This particular one that I'm drinking is the Twinings tea bag version that they do, which I went and bought yesterday. And this is my third cup since I bought it yesterday afternoon. I really love Lapsang Souchong. It's really smoky. It's like the tea equivalent of a good Islay whiskey, nice and smoky. But the one I was drinking that got me really obsessed with it was from Witchyards. My sister sent me some loose tea from Witchyards and I ran out, so I just went and bought the tea bags, but it's a bit more bitter than the one I was drinking. Could be because I'm brewing more of it. So anyway, I'm now on a search to find the perfect Lapsang Souchong tea, and now I really hope I'm pronouncing that right because I've said it many times. Anyway, thank you if you are new here, because I've had a little flurry of new subscribers. It seems that my Wortham Abbey Wool Show vlog must have been picked up by the algorithm for some reason. It was obviously algorithm friendly, and I had a lot more views on that video than I normally would, and off the back of that I had a lot of new subscribers. So if you watched that and you decided to stay, ta very much, welcome. And as usual, a big hello and welcome to all of my subscribers, old and new. And thank you for all the love on my vlog that I did all about my whips, my works in progress. It was really cathartic to sort of get all those out and really get moving, and it's really motivated me as well. It was a really good thing to do at the start of the year. It's just to have a good old honest rummage through what I'm working on and really make decisions, and as a result I've got a few things done that I don't think I would have done otherwise, which I shall talk to you about. I keep looking down because I've got my notes propped up on my new tripod, which I treated myself to. It's not an expensive one, but at least the legs don't fall off every time I move it. Have I got anything else that I need to say? No, I think that's it. I've told you where to find me. Oh, I didn't say that you can also find me on my other channel, which is This Is a Wonderful Life, where I publish a vlog every Monday. And the latest one, I was talking about my favourite sketching, well, the sketching materials I use, and my favourite pens and my favourite sketchbooks and the books that I use to help get me started with sketching, even though I was definitely one of the people who would have said I can't draw. So that was the latest vlog. I'll link to that underneath. Right. So we can get started with some finished objects. I'm just going to have another slurp of my smoky tea and then I'll grab the first thing. Oh, that is so nice. So nice. I love it. Okay, my first finished object, I'm so happy with these, is a pair of socks, and technically they are Christmas socks. And I spoke about them a bit in the last episode as well. They are the Pearly Dot Socks, which is a pattern by Sandra Paul of the Cherry Heart podcast, who I'm sure you all know. By the way, I'm filming upstairs in my bedroom because I did this last time and the light was really good, so I thought I'd stick to it, even though I'm on my own in the house and I don't actually need to hide in the bedroom. Because my husband's in the office today, which is something that doesn't happen that much anymore, and both the kids are at school, so I have a very rare day in the house by myself, hence why I've got time to film a podcast. Anyway, going off on a tangent, these are the Pearly Dot Socks by Sandra Paul. As you can see, they have a lovely folded cuff with a picot edge, which I've never done before. Oh, is the camera causing a shadow when I hold things up? It is, isn't it? Hang on a minute. I've moved a bit so that when I hold things up it won't cast a shadow. The shadow's over here now. Hopefully that'll work anyway. So pearly dot socks, lovely picot edging and a folded cuff, which was really easy to do, and I really love that, and it fits really well as well. It's got a lovely little bobbly texture, and what else to say? I think I changed the heel. I think I tried to do the heel in the pattern and didn't get on well with it, so I used the heel from one of her other patterns so that I didn't have to pick up a garter edge. I think that's what I did, but it's definitely, I think, an eye of partridge heel, and I did the wedge toe that's in the pattern as well. And they look lovely, and the beautiful yarn was dyed especially for me by my friend Becky. Becky is back to Blighty yarns, and I will link to her underneath. And she dyed this for me when we met up during Vlogmas, which I did on This Little Wonderful Life. And the yarn name is called This Little Wonderful Christmas. And it's sparkly and lovely, and I love it so much. And I've got enough actually left over. I'll show you this now rather than when I'm talking about my works in progress. Let me just see if there's anything else I want to say about these socks. No. Just, I love them, and now I've shown them to you. They're going to go in my sock drawer so they can either get worn by me or stolen by my children, who have decided that they love knitted socks and are going to steal all mine. They've got plenty of their own, but they like to steal mine. So I had enough left of that precious yarn, I think, to make some shorty socks. So in my new bag, which is by my friend Dawn. Now, she was Dawn's Days, or she still is Dawn's Days, that's her vlogging channel. She's a Brit living in the Netherlands, but her knitting and crafting podcast that she's just moved to is called The Woven Almanac. And she made a couple of bags and sent them to me, one to be used as a prize for the Strictly Sock Along, which I drew in the last episode on this channel, the last video on this channel, and one for me to keep. So I chose to keep this one with the birds because my youngest daughter Phoebe absolutely fell in love. She fell in love with both of them, but this one more so. And I've got, I think, just enough to make some shorty socks. So I'm just, well, kind of making this up. I've got past the heel past the gusset decreases on the first sock, and now I have to do the heel on the second sock. So I knit my socks 2 at a time but concurrently on DPNs. I'm using my favourite DPNs at the moment. I really love these. They are Knit Pro Smart Sticks. You see they've got that marking on them. It's supposed to help you with gauge and stuff. Those are inch markings, but it's not that I like about them. It's the coating. Really like the Smart Sticks. I'm going to get some more, I think. And I've got quite a few, but I want to get some larger ones. Yeah, definitely my favourite at the moment. So I've got past, I just did, I think, 18 rows of 1x1 twisted rib, and then I worked 10 rows, and then I did the heel. And the heel that I've done, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this properly with it being all scrunched on the needles. Sorry, that's a quote from one of my favourite films, French Kiss, with Meg Ryan and Kevin Kline. I hate the way you look at me with your eyes all scrunched up and you say, "You're French, aren't you?" Sorry. Unless you've seen the film, I'm now just talking complete nonsense. Anyway, here is the heel, which is really hard to show you, but it's actually the heel from Ellie Jones, who is Craft House Magic. Her, well, the candy cane socks. They were Christmas socks. So the heel has got like a tree effect on the back of it, and it's really sweet. And I thought, seeing as I'm just making plain shorty socks, it would be fun to have something a bit more interesting on the heel. So that's what I've done. But otherwise, these are just going to be plain. I've only got this much left to complete the foot. Although for the other sock I do have more yarn left over in my ball, so I should be able to, I think, complete both socks with the yarn I have. But if not, if it looks like I'm going to run out, I can always do a contrast colour for the toes. So I'm really enjoying those, and I think I might put that in my handbag for my handbag knitting, you know, waiting room knitting, or I might just keep knitting them in front of the telly so they get done. If I put them in my bag, I don't spend enough time in waiting rooms now that I'm not sick anymore. So they tend to take forever to get done. He's just looking at a bird flying across the hills opposite. So yeah, so those are my pearly dot socks. And now the next thing, which was kind of, because of the vlog I did about my works in progress, it really got me moving on certain things. And therefore I have a finished hat to show you. It's living in my bag from Piggy's Market, which I absolutely love. It's the beautiful bikes with baskets and flowers. So that's from Piggy's Market. And I had the yarn and everything in here with a mind to making oh, I was looking for that. Found it. This is my little gauge measurer thing from Yarnistry. I was looking for that the other day. So I had in mind to make a hat inspired by the character Lily in the Dash and Lily series, which is based on the book. And I'll put a little picture up of the hat in question. Now it's very hard to sort of get good still pictures of it, but we watched Dash and Lily again just before Christmas, so I was able to get a good look at it. And I had some yarn left over from when my mum and I together made the Harry Styles cardigan for Lilia. So I had some DK red and DK green left over, and from other projects as well. So I thought if I held that double, I'd get that green and red effect. I just had to work out what to do. So I did a bit of gauge swatching and measuring and trying to work it out and looking at the picture and so on. And in the end, I'll show you. I can't stop drinking this tea. So in the end, I cast on 60 stitches and I did a 1x1 rib, and I used the red and the green held double. Look at this, it looks like a giant sock. I used the green and the red held double, so 2 DK yarns held together, and I used a 5.5mm needle. And I didn't have quite enough of the green that I was using, so towards the top of the hat I actually alternated skeins of green. So I brought in a completely different green altogether and alternated, which hopefully you'll be able to see. So here is just the one colour green, and then as we get to the top it moves into 2 other colour greens. And actually I like that effect so much, I wish I'd done it for the whole hat. So here's how it looks. I know it looks like a giant sock when it's not on my head. So the idea is that you're supposed to have this sort of floppy bit at the end, and it will have a pom-pom. Or you can turn up quite a bit to make it not so floppy at the end and have it like this. And if you've got a fringe, it means you can't really see very well because my fringe is now all in my eyes. And I'm really pleased with it. But I would say it feels quite snug, which I quite like, but I don't think Lilia will, who it's for, my eldest daughter. So I'm going to make it again. This will definitely get worn by me or her or Phoebe, my youngest. Yes, so I'm going to make it again. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to stick with the 60 stitches, 1x1 rib, but I'm going to go up a needle size. So I'm going to do it on 6mm needles. And I've got enough, definitely got enough of the red, which is kind of this is all acrylic yarn, which is what we used for the Harry Styles cardigan. Otherwise I think it would have just been too massively heavy. So it's a flecked red. And I didn't keep any of the yarn labels. I'll have to go and have a look at the order we placed from Wool Warehouse to see if I can find out what the yarn was. So it's got the neps in it. And then the rest of it is all Paintbox DK yarn that I had left over. So I'm going to use this brighter green with the red for the next hat. So that's going to become a work in progress very soon. So finished object and about to become a whip as well. So my next work in progress is also something that I think I already showed finished in the work in progress vlog. So I'll just show you very quickly. I had a load of scrubby sparkly yarn that I had to use up, and a little bit of blue as well. So I made a scrubby to go in the kitchen, and to use up the blue I just crocheted until I ran out of blue, and then I added the white, so now I've got a two-tone scrubby. I love this little pattern for scrubby yarn. It is a free pattern on the Bee Hooked Crochet website. It's called Crochet Scrubby Set. I will put a link to it underneath. And it's a pattern for this little folding on itself scrubby, which are really effective. I've got them in the bathroom, we use them in the shower, because this scrubby yarn is safe to use on your skin, and also brilliant for doing the pots and pans as well. I think that the blue yarn was called Pots and Pits. And then I had a load of the white left still, so what I did with that was make lots of tiny balls. So I've got lots of sparkly little balls. There we go. Oh look, there's me in the middle. Look like Mrs. Claus now, don't I? Yes, I made a load of these. Oh, got one of my hairs on there. There's even more here, and I just made them until I ran out. I didn't stuff them or anything because the yarn's quite stiff. They hold their shape without needing to put any stuffing in. The pattern I used is Little Balls, which is a free pattern on the Attic 24 website, Lucy at Attic 24. And this sparkly yarn is Rico Creative Bubble, which was a gift from my friend Annette a couple of years ago. Ooh, shiny. So I've used all that up, and my intention is to make a garland to go on the Christmas tree. So we're hopefully going to be having 2 Christmas trees at some point in the next couple of years, and I want one of them to be all handmade ornaments. So I'm going to put this in with the Christmas decorations now that I've shown you on the podcast, and I'm going to make a little garland to go on the tree, I think. So that's all now finished. So it was languishing in my lovely little bag, my lovely little lobster bag, for ages, and now it's a finished object. So that's very satisfying. Oh, and the pouch, by the way, is from Callie. Thank you, Callie. I love it. Okay, my final finished object, I'm just going to literally flash at you. This is a kind of aside. I talked last time about a crochet blanket that I'd abandoned and turned into a cowl, but should I keep it a cowl or make it a scarf? And I had many comments from people. Some were team cowl, some were team tassel. At least one person was team bobble or pom-pom, thinking I could trim the ends instead of with tassels with pom-poms. But in the end, I decided to separate it out and for it not to be a cowl, and call it a scarf and call it done. So my crochet blanket is now a scarf. I'm not even going to add tassels. It's plenty long enough without them. They won't get in the way or caught in my zip or anything. And I have a lovely granny stitch scarf to wear. From now on, I can wear it on the school run this afternoon. And this is the granny stripe blanket pattern, again from the Attic 24 blog, and again it is free. So I'm really pleased with this. It was just a mixture of minis that I had. I was making a blanket for my youngest daughter, but it was so like wide, I just was never going to finish it. So, but it was so wide, so it made the perfect length for a scarf. I'm at that point in the podcast now where I start to think, have I just been talking utter nonsense for the last 25 minutes? Probably. Let's move on to works in progress. Okay, this is very exciting. Now, obviously, I've just done an enormous vlog, an hour-long vlog of all of my works in progress. So for a true and honest, accurate representation of my works in progress situation, if you haven't already, go and watch that. I'm just going to show you a couple in this episode. So living in my gorgeous So Raimi bag, lovely Rachel. This was a gift from my friend Ali, but made by my friend Rachel. And I have on here a lovely pin I got from my friend Elaine at Christmas. Crochet Queen. Which is ironic really, because it's a knitting project that's in this bag. A magical knitting project. So in episode 82, I said that I want to knit garments this year, and I also said I wanted to stop just umming and ahhing about certain patterns where I'm like, oh, should I make it? Oh, I don't know, and just get on with it. Why not just get on and give them a go? What do I think is going to happen? You know, nothing's going to, like, I don't know, spontaneously combust in my hands because it's gone wrong or whatever. Nothing bad is going to happen from just trying to knit something or crochet something. So with this project, I have fulfilled both of those goals, and there is something magical about this project. It's the magical Ranunculus pattern. So a couple of years ago, this pattern was given to me as a gift via Ravelry by Ruth. Thank you, Ruth. And it's been sitting in my library of me looking at it nearly every week going, oh, should I? Oh, I don't know. Or should I make it? And the yarn I've had in my stash for 5 years. In fact, I think it was one of the first things that a viewer sent me. And she sent me 3 skeins of this beautiful yellow. It's called Crazy Rich. It's by an Australian yarn company called Bunham Yarns. And I think, I've spoken to an expert friend, that the yardage on this means it's a sport weight yarn, or sort of getting towards a sport weight yarn. And it certainly does feel thicker and more plump than a fingering weight yarn. But it's lovely and I love the colour. So I've got 3 skeins of that, and I thought that would work for the Ranunculus. Well, I'm hoping I've got enough to make the Ranunculus, because that's what I'm doing. So at last, the pattern and the yarn are getting used, and I have loved it. I'm about to just start knitting the body, so I've split for the sleeves and I've done the top. And here it is. So I did a gauge swatch. I was very good. I was a very good knitter. I did my gauge swatch and I washed and blocked it as well. And I got gauge with 6mm needles. So I actually then went down to 5.5mm needles because I was just so worried that it was going to come out absolutely mahoosive. So I went down to 5.5, even though I got gauge with 6, because I don't want it to be absolutely enormous. I know it is an oversized sweater pattern, but I didn't want it to be so ridiculous I would never wear it. I went for the larger neck size, which when I first did it I was like, God, I'm not even going to get my head through it, but as I've knit it I can now see it's going to sit nicely across my collarbones here, which I wanted. I think I'm going to do long sleeves, that's my plan anyway, or for as long as I can with the yarn that I've got. And so I've completed the top section, the lace section, which I absolutely loved. I love knitting lace. I should do it more. So this is how it's looking. Obviously this is all not blocked or anything like that, and I'm sure there's the odd mistake, but this is my top bit of the Ranunculus, and now I've just got to knit for as long as I can or want to for the body, and I love it. I absolutely love it. This whole top section was so addictive. I've just knit it in the last few days really. I couldn't put it down. The yarn is so plump and lovely. I love the colour and just the pattern. It was like some kind of magical, addictive something has been weaved into this pattern and yarn. So yeah, I have absolutely loved it. Now I've thought about alternating skeins every couple of rows, but because I was feeling nervous about knitting, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm not an experienced garment knitter. I decided not to do that. It is hand dyed. What I'm going to do is kind of fade in the next skein. So when I get to about half this size, I'm going to fade in the next one so that I don't get a line, if there's which I'm sure there will be a difference in colour being hand dyed, but I don't want to get a very obvious line, so I'm going to fade it in a little bit, and I think that's what will help me, because then at least I don't have to worry about juggling skeins of yarn as well as getting it in my mind. In fact, I could start fading it in now that I'm on the plain knitting of the body. I wouldn't feel too worried about doing that. So yeah, that is my magical Ranunculus, and I am so thrilled with it. I'm so glad to have broken that barrier and stopped umming and ahhing and so, oh, I don't know, I might not like it might not fit me, and just get on with it, because you don't learn unless you do. And I'm really pleased that I started it. So thank you to Katie, who sent me this yarn all those years ago, 5 years ago. I have no idea if Katie even still watches, but Katie, I'm finally using the yarn and I love it, thank you. And obviously to Ruth, who knew that I would like the pattern, who knew more than I that I would enjoy doing it. So I can't wait to put some more effort into that and see where we go in the next couple of weeks. Okay, my next work in progress also leads me to talk about the along that I am hosting with my friend Sherrie of the Ollie and Bella podcast. So Sherrie and I are running the cozy winter blanket along, which is running until the end of February. It's the most super relaxed along you can possibly be involved in. Sherrie, I don't know where I just got to, but I just got the fright of my life because I was sitting here. So obviously I'm in my bedroom and I'm surrounded by yarn and project bags, and I have a camera pointing at me, and the window cleaner started climbing up a ladder. All of a sudden this ladder appeared. The heads, so I had to quickly run and close the blinds so they didn't. It would take too much explaining, wouldn't it, to a window cleaner to say, yeah, I sit in my bedroom and talk to the internet about yarn. Oh, now they're doing the house opposite as well. So if they look round, they're going to see me anyway. Oh well, who cares? Who cares? Well, I don't know what I was saying. I think I was talking about the cozy winter blanket along, and I was saying it's a really, really relaxed make along. Whips are allowed as long as they're not more than 50% done. There's one thread for FOs and chatter. You don't have to finish. And Cherie's going to draw a prize from the thread, which is in her group. When I say the thread, it's like you know, for chatting and posting pictures and getting to know people and sharing your work and stuff on Ravelry. And she's going to draw a winner from there at the end. And there's also the hashtag, which is on the screen, which is over on Instagram, so you can join in there as well. And I'm going to draw a prize from there. I've got some lovely yarn from Elderflower Stitches, but I shall show you that towards the end of the, not towards the end of the episode. Anyway, for that, I've already got several blankets on the go that I could have used, but of course I started a new one. And now I've started 3 new ones with the same yarn because I've reached an indecision. So let me show you first of all where I started and now what I'm doing. Okay, so basically I had some yarn that I've always wanted to use for a blanket for Phoebe. It was a gift from a lovely viewer and friend of this podcast called Christina. She dyed it with her son. It's called Phoebe Sparkles on a Stormy Day. The window cleaner's just opposite. I really hope he doesn't look round. And it's beautiful, and it's cotton, and it's sparkly, and it's worsted weight. And I've got quite a lot of it, and I thought blanket enough. But when I started making the original blanket, the 6-Day Kid Blanket by Betty McKnit, it's a very popular pattern, and one that I definitely do want to make, I started to worry that I was going to run out of yarn. So here's how far I got. The perfect width. And so what I did was I raided my cotton stash and I got some of this purple yarn, the plain purple yarn. I'm holding it double, which gives me a slightly thicker weight than the Aran weight. It's a DK, I think, but not enough to cause any problems with the look of the blanket. But I'm not sure I like it, although I like it a bit more now that I'm looking at it on the screen. I'm just not sure I like striping it in this way with that solid colour. Phoebe wants a very Scandi look for her room. And I'm wondering if having that solid purple kind of de-Scandifies it. It's not a word. Maybe a white or a cream might be better if I was going to stripe it. I do have some cream. But anyway, my feeling was that this pattern, as lovely as it is, was using up quite a lot of yarn. Now I need to do a bit of working out of this theory that it's using up a lot of yarn, because there are a lot of cluster stitches in some of the rows. Yeah, so anyway, I paused because I became worried that I didn't like the striping, and the striping was what was going to help me eke out the yarn to get the size of blanket that Phoebe wants. So then I thought maybe I could knit a blanket because it's a bit more economical on yarn. This is all living in a bag that I got when isn't that beautiful? I got this bag when I did a swap with Marta a couple of years ago. Oh, here it is. And it's perfect for this. I've got 3 started blanket projects in here, so you can tell how big it is. Oh, now I'm all tangled up. So I started a knitted one. And there's no point in me really showing you this because you're not going to be able to see anything. I just wanted to get an idea of how I would feel knitting a blanket. I've never knit a blanket before. So it's a free pattern and it's the Garter Chevron blanket by Catherine Anderson. So, and I've knit about 4 rows, I think 3, maybe not even that, maybe just 2 or 3 rows, and I can already tell that I am not going to get on with knitting a blanket. It just doesn't have the same wonderful feeling to it that crocheting a blanket does for me. For me. So 6-day kid blanket uses too much yarn maybe. Knitted blanket, too much time, not enough feeling. So I had a third go. I thought, right, what blanket have I made in the past? What blanket have I crocheted in the past that I've loved doing? I don't have to think about, but it's lovely, easy crocheting that would work well. So I started a neat ripple, another pattern by Attic 24, by Lucy Attic 24. And I've made several of these blankets before in the past. So I've started a neat ripple, and my intention is to weigh this and work out how long it's going to get with the yarn that I've got to see if that is going to be a reasonable size for what I want to make. And certainly the time I spent making this is the happiest time I've spent since starting a blanket this year, because I know where I am with this pattern. I love it. I don't have to think about it. It looks lovely. I like the way the yarn looks. So I'm hoping that if this works out, that I'm going to have enough yarn to make a decent sized blanket and I don't have to stripe it. This is what I'm going to do. So I've got this left out of a 49-gram ball. So by the time I've finished this 49-gram ball, I reckon this is going to be about another half of the length it is again. And then I'm going to have to weigh again so I can remember how much I've got of the remaining yarn. I've definitely got a whole 100-gram cake here and here. Actually, that might be a bit less than 100. And here. And the stuff I've already used in the other blankets as tests, which I'm now in a horrible mess all over the floor. And just in case you're interested, by the way, I started my neat ripple with foundation single crochet instead of chains, and I made 98 of those, I think, before starting the first row of the neat ripple pattern, I think, to give you a rough idea of the size I'm making in worsted weight yarn. So I've got to make some decisions and work out some yarn and then get on with it, because by the time I've made a decision, the mail's going to be over, isn't it? Anyway, that's all the works in progress I'm going to share with you for today, because obviously you've seen so many of them on my other video. So I thought I'd talk about some incoming stuff. Now, all of the stuff I bought at the Waltham Abbey Yarn Festival I showed in my Waltham Abbey vlog, so I won't go into that again, but I did want to share the book again, just in case you haven't seen it. I'm looking at the yarn in the box and I desperately want to show it, but I know that I'll just start going on and on and on, and we'll have a 2-hour podcast on our hands. I bought this book from Jeanette Sloan, who was there at the BIPOC in Fibre stand, and also she was the guest who opened the show. They always have a knitting guest who opens the show and then judges the competition, and it's something different every year, and this year it was, I think, knitted and crocheted toys. So she was selling this book. I had never heard of it before until I saw it on the day. It's called Warm Hands, edited by Jeanette Sloan and Kate Davies, and it's 15 designs. And I was flicking through it when I saw it, and I sort of saw the first pattern, and I loved the first pattern, because I know that my eldest daughter, especially Lilia, will absolutely love these. I really, really want to make them for her. They look like they'll be a bit of a challenge for me. But, you know, they're worth it, aren't they? So I thought, oh, that's nice. I'd quite like to make those. And then I started flicking through, and just everything in this book I wanted to make. I just loved every single pattern, from simple fingerless mitts to the super complex mitts I just showed you. There's mittens, there's gloves, there's wrist warmers, hand warmers, colour work, cables, just lace, everything. And there wasn't a single pattern in here that I didn't like. So I bought it. And it was like really, oh, look at those. These are called Toasty Cozy by Toasty Cozy by, oh, by Jeanette Sloan. Oh, I'm gonna have to make those. Oh, you can make them as closed mittens or as fingerless mittens, and I do prefer fingerless. Oh, they're really nice. Oh. Anyway, I'm getting distracted, but I just wanted to share that. It was really reasonably priced. I think there was a bit of a discount because of it being the yarn show, for 15 patterns, and really, oh look, and there's a picture at the front of all of the mittens in a circle. And you can just see there that she signed the book for me. I was so excited. And now I can hear banging from one of my neighbours who are obviously doing a bit of DIY. So apologies if you can hear that. So for anything else that I got at Waltham Abbey, make sure you check out the vlog that I did on the Waltham Abbey yarn show. It was such a lovely day and I was really pleased with the things that I bought. I also got a lovely parcel from Australia from my friend Hilary. She sent all kinds of lovely Australian treats and sweets and goodies and wonderful things that we really enjoyed, and a few other bits. And I just wanted to share the yarn that she sent me because it's so lovely. It's from Luli Yarn, Deb and Louise at Luli Yarn. And the colour is called Sea Glass. And I'm assuming, it doesn't say on the label, but I am assuming they are Australian dyers. Indie dyers and spinners, that's their label. And this is the yarn, look at that. So like I say, the colour's Sea Glass. There's obviously a self-striping and one of these gorgeous gobstopper balls. Isn't that lovely? That'll be nice summer knitting, that, won't it? And it's all ready to go. It's all balled up and ready to go. So thank you, Hilary, for that. That was a lovely surprise. I wanted to just show that because I've not heard of those dyers before either. And also I wanted to show you some fabric because I want your advice on it. So Nicola, lovely Nicola, sent me a lovely little parcel. She spotted some fabric at the fabric store where she works and she thought that I needed to have it. I was so thrilled when I opened this. It's chicken fabric. Aren't they amazing? And they actually do look like Cloud, our friendliest chicken. So she sent me, I've got quite a bit of it. I'll show you. So I've got quite a bit. So yeah, it's a metre long and maybe half a metre wide. And it's what to do with it. Now my first thought of fabric is always I shall make a bag. But I'm just wondering if anyone has a suggestion for something else to make. Because I've got lots of bags that I can use. But what else could I do with some lovely fabric? Any suggestions for useful things I could make with a beautiful fabric? Because I do have lots of fabric waiting to be turned into wonderful things. I'm just wondering if anyone has suggestions for different things other than dodgy bags. Let me know. And by the way, I've got a couple of bag tutorials on this channel. Oh, look at me, bit of advertising for my own videos. So I will link those underneath. I think I've got 3 now, just for simple dodgy bags, as I call them, that I make. But yeah, if you've got any other suggestions for things, fun things to make with fun fabric, leave me a comment and let me know. So thank you for that, Nicola. Who is that banging? Sounds like a distant banging, but it's definitely in one of my next door neighbours' houses. It's probably someone putting together furniture or something. Oh yes, so, and again, I'm not going to go through everything that I've received over the last few months, because I think I'll get overwhelmed with trying to bring it all together. So I'm just sharing a select few things. I got a parcel the other day from Tammy, and I wanted to show it to you, because she hand-dyed some yarn. She's just got into it and has been really enjoying it. And she dyed me the most lovely sock set in this, look at that, in this gorgeous yellow, which reminds me of daffodils, of the inside of daffodils, with a contrast blue. A sunny, happy sock set that is. It's not got a name or anything. She's not set. I think she said she is going to start selling her yarn, but she's not at the moment. And it's a lovely kind of, I don't know what you call the type of yarn where it's got like a really high, like obvious twist to it. I think that's going to be really lovely to knit. I'll see if I can get it to do. Can you see? Yes, it is showing up. Can you see how it's all, is that what you call a high twist? I'm not knowledgeable enough to know. But it's really beautiful. Thank you, Tammy. And she sent along with it, she said, oh, I don't know if anyone's ever given you this decoration already. No, they haven't. She sent us a lobster decoration from Target. Oh, it's got, I might have to take that off so I can show you actually. Hang on, let me take that little tag off. We don't have Target here. Now it's got a little thing so you can add a string to hang it up, or you can just prop it up somewhere. So maybe I need a, I've said this before, maybe I just need an all lobster Christmas tree. He's so sparkly. He's like a Strictly lobster. He should be the Strictly Sock Along mascot 2022, shouldn't he? Let's put him up here next to my cup of tea, which has now gone cold. Yeah, so that was, I think that was all the bits I wanted to share with you this time. Yes, it was. So we talk about some books and stuff, which is where I just share books and things I'm reading, things I'm watching, things I'm listening to, basically. So we have just started watching, Dan and I, Afterlife, the Ricky Gervais series. I think there's a few series now, but we've literally just started watching series 1. We've never watched it before. We weren't sure we were going to like it, and we love it. It's a really sort of funny, sad, touching, awkward kind of programme, and we're really, really enjoying it. So we're probably last to the party in watching it. And the reason we hadn't, I think, is Dan's always found Ricky Gervais pretty awkward, and he doesn't like watching awkward things. I love Ricky Gervais. But we just decided to give it a go, and we just, it's a series, basically. It's a British series about a man dealing with the loss of his wife. But it's funny, and yeah, we're really enjoying that. So we've been watching that over the past week or so. And so listening wise, my audiobooks, I've just finished Windswept and Interesting by Billy Connolly, and I really, really enjoyed it. It reminds me so much of my lovely dad, who passed away in 2018. Billy Connolly was his favourite comedian. My dad was born in Glasgow, and we really grew up listening to Billy Connolly's comedy he used to have them on cassette tape. And we probably shouldn't have been listening to him because he's very sweary, and we were very young, but it was the 80s and people didn't seem to mind. But because of that, his voice feels like a piece of my family history. And also Billy Connolly, quite famously, has Parkinson's, which my dad was diagnosed with when he was 60 and suffered with for the 10 years before he died. So there was just a lot of things there that make me think of my dad, and also his stories of Glasgow and of Scotland and of going on holiday to Aberdeen, and which, you know, we did as children, went on holiday to Aberdeen, and it was just really lovely. I really enjoyed it, and it was so good to hear it being read by Billy Connolly. I've been listening to that in the car on my way to work. And because I finished that, I am now listening to Chocolat by Joanne Harris, and that is because I've just finished reading The Strawberry Thief by Joanne Harris, which I don't have here to show you because I've actually sent it off to my friend Suzanne. I've lent it to her, and I will talk about her again in one moment. So I finished The Strawberry Thief and realised it was actually the 4th book following the story of Vianne from the Chocolat book, which is the 1st book. So there's actually 4 books in that kind of series. I mean, it works well as a standalone book, and I really, really enjoyed it. But I couldn't remember if I've ever read Chocolat, so I downloaded it on Audible. I've been listening to it. It's read by Joanne Harris herself, and I've got used to the sort of lilt of her voice now, and I'm really enjoying the story of chocolate. It's a little bit magical and a little bit French and a little bit chocolatey, and it's really, really good and very cosy thing to listen to. I'm really enjoying it. And Suzanne, who I just mentioned from Green Lampkin Yarn, very kindly said, oh, I've got the 2nd book, would you like to borrow it? So she sent it to me, to borrow. So the second book is The Lollipop Shoes. So I can read this once I've finished Chocolat on Audible, and I've sent her The Strawberry Thief. And then there's another book after The Lollipop Shoes, which I might listen to on Audible again, and then I will have read all 4. So this is on my list to read, but at the moment, because I finished A Strawberry Thief, I wanted a little kind of shorter book in between larger novels. So I'm reading a book that I got for I think it was my birthday last year. And it is part of the Heinemann African Writers series, but it's also published, I think, by Penguin as well. And it is Second Class Citizen by Buchi Emechita. It was published in the 1970s, 1974, sort of early to mid 70s. And it's a semi-autobiographical novel. So it's loosely based on the events of her life, but it's not a telling of her life, of a sort of very intelligent and resourceful young Nigerian woman who moves to the UK to join her husband, and she has 2 very, very young children. And it's about how she deals with being a second-class citizen. So obviously there's a lot of racism from the people in her new country, but she also comes up against a lot of judgment from other immigrants, especially as she is a mother who wants to keep her children with her and not send them off somewhere. And she's the main breadwinner as well. Her husband is pretty useless, he's abusive, he's a student and he doesn't have a job, so she becomes the main breadwinner, but she also has to do everything else. And the writing is utterly absorbing from like the very first page. The way she writes and tells a story, it's like timeless in a way. It's an absolutely brilliantly written tale, and I would very much like to read more of her work. She's a very well-known African writer. She's no longer with us. I think she died, I'm not sure when, some time ago. And this was written, like I say, and published in the early 1970s. So I would really recommend this. I'm not sure I'd recommend this particular publication of it because, and maybe I've just got a faulty copy, and I'm not sure if it's going to come out if I hold it up to the screen. But you do get used to it. Oh, I don't know if that's coming out, but the print is a bit blurry, almost like it's kind of bled a bit onto the paper and made it a bit blurry, which, because I read at night, can sometimes make me go, ooh, yeah. But having said that, it only takes me a page before my eyes adjust to it, and it hasn't like taken away from my enjoyment of the book at all. So I am really enjoying that. It's quite a short book, less than 200 pages. I'm already over half the way through, so I may well finish that by this time next week. I should also say, speaking of the lollipop shoes that Suzanne sent me, when she sent it to me, she sent me something else. So I bought some of her, so what Suzanne does, she's a yarn dyer, and she releases her advent yarns in batches over the course of the year. And I believe she's doing that again this year. So you can buy your advent over the year and you spread the cost. Now I only cottoned onto this quite late. So I think I bought two of them towards the end of the year because they were Christmas Carol themed. And that's like my favourite book to read at Christmas. So, and I love those yarns. But when she sent me the book, she sent me the ones I didn't have. She sent me all the advent yarns that I didn't have. So I've got, well, I don't need to get them out, but I'll just show you. They're all in here. So I'm thinking what I might do. So there's two options. Three actually. One, I can just rip them all open immediately now, which is very tempting. Two, I can save them for Christmas, but there might be edibles in there, so it's probably not a good idea. Or three, I could save them for April and open them as a birthday advent in the lead up to my birthday. I quite like the idea of doing that. I'm not sure yet, but it's a nice decision to have to make. So thank you, Suzanne, for sending those, and oh, I'm so excited to open them. So excited. I can make Christmas Carol socks. Okay, well, this was going to be the end from my show notes. I was going to move on to and finally announce a few giveaway winners and get you up to speed on a couple of bits of news that I need to let you know about. And then I thought I might add a new section in. about patterns, because quite often I come across patterns or somebody buys me a pattern and I never talk about them. And I think that might be interesting because I love hearing about new patterns and things. So I just made a really brief little post-it note, and I thought I'd just go through some of the patterns that have come to my attention over the past month or so, and talk about them. So it's going to be a bit winging it, but hopefully this will be all right. Now I'm going to have to contact all the designers to check they're okay with me using their photos. So the first one was a gift from Deanne Ramsey, lovely Deanne at Added Day Designs. She is a crochet designer. I've made a couple of her things in the past. I've made 2 of her Waru shawls, which I absolutely loved making and love wearing. And she's got a new pattern out and it's called Intermission, and she gave me a copy just because she's lovely and because it was a nice thing to do, which is just amazing. So I'm going to put a picture up of it now. It's created specifically for mini skeins, and it pairs stripes with basic lace to create the shawl of your lazy weekend dreams. That's brilliant. The shawl of your lazy weekend dreams. And it is really beautiful, and I'm very tempted to make it. This year I'm going to try to avoid getting into shawls and things because I really want to concentrate on knitting and crocheting garments. But this is definitely on my list because I do love her patterns. But I thought I'd share it with you because I thought it was just so gorgeous. And then another one that I was given as a gift is another crochet blanket, and this time it is from Samantha at Bumblebee Acres Farm, and it is the Cottage Core Throw, and it is so gorgeous. Did I say it was crochet already? It's crochet. And it's another one that's designed for small bits, you know, minis, scraps, whatever you've got. And it's a relaxing knit. And it says it uses her version of brioche stitch. It creates a gorgeous and perfectly double-sided blanket. And it looks as though it's composed of knit stitches. And it really is a really interesting looking texture. It's absolutely beautiful. So I thought I'd just draw your attention to that as well because it looks so lovely. And thank you so much, Sam, for sending that to me. That was so kind of you. You sent me such a lovely message. And then another pattern that I wanted to talk about is one that I actually bought because I saw it on Instagram on Mama's teddy bear. I feel like I always get that the wrong way round. No, I am right. Mama's teddy bear. I did get it the right way around. So this is Ina, and she has got the ivy and nettle socks, and I've never seen, I'm not sure at what point my battery cut out there, but I've changed it over now and I'm back up and running. And I was talking about the ivy and nettle socks, and they are so gorgeous. And of course she's made them in the most delicious colour, and many of the projects I've seen have made them in the most wonderful colours. So I need to find I bought it and it's in my library, but I need to find the perfect yarn for it from my stash. So I just wanted to draw your attention to those as well because I just thought they were so beautiful and unusual. Yes, I might do that in future, is remember to talk about patterns that have come across my radar or patterns that have been given to me for a gift, and be a bit more organised than just reading it off a post-it at the last minute. And finally, it's the bit where I fill you in on all the rest of the stuff that don't fit into any other category. So first of all, I want to announce a couple of winners. The purple yarn winner from episode ages ago, still hasn't been in touch. I've done a couple of shout outs now. So I've drawn another winner. I went onto the pick a comment thing this morning and it drew up Govid/Gordana. Gordana. So you are the new winner of the purple yarn. And I see your name pop up in the comments all the time. So it was really lovely to see you come up as a winner. So just as a reminder, you have won 2 skeins of this gorgeous merino singles yarn from Needle and Thread. There is no colourway name for it, but it's absolutely beautiful. And because it was that beautiful purple, I have a lovely lavender Marks and Spencer's hand cream to go with it as well. So if you could get in touch by email, my email is in the description box with your details and your address, and I'll get that posted out to you. I've been sending out a load of Strictly Sock Along prizes this week, and I'm still waiting for a few people to get in touch with me, but loads of people have already got in touch with me. But I'm going to the post office a lot at the moment, so get in touch with me quick And if you did take part in the Strictly Sock Along and you haven't watched the last Strictly vlog, make sure you go and watch it, because I drew about 15 winners in that video and you could be one of them. So I'll pop that down there ready to go into the post if you can get in touch with me. And then I also had a giveaway in my last episode, in episode 82, for the Starlight Cow by Hannah of Yarnia Designs. And it's an absolutely beautiful, simple, relaxing cow pattern. And I had lots of comments, and the winner that was picked by the comment picker this morning was Kitchen Knitter, which is a great name. And her comment was, I like January because my garden is a little dormant in December, but now there are snowdrops peeking through, the loveliest winter flower. That's so, and we've got snowdrops on our walk to school at the moment, and we always like to see them. It feels really spring-like at the moment. If I didn't say that already, I probably did. Yeah, so we've got snowdrops and crocuses popping up everywhere at the moment. Won't be long before it's bluebell time either, will it? Spring is nearly here already. And Kate, the next thing I wanted to talk about was a heads up a collaboration that I'm going to do. This is very exciting. So I get a lot of emails about doing collaborations, but they tend to be, hi, we love your channel. We'd like you to promote our gaming software or our glasses, because, you know, obviously I wear glasses, I don't. Or what about this new desk, or yeah, just things that just don't fit in a million years with the subject of my channel. And if I was ever going to do a collaboration, I've always said to myself, it would have to be something that the people that watch my channel would find interesting. Otherwise, what's the point? And then Skillshare contacted me. So if you haven't heard of Skillshare, it's like an online learning site. And I have done free trials with Skillshare before, and I know that I like them. So I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. So I'm going to do a collaboration with them over the next 6 episodes, not this one, but starting next episode. You're going to hear me talk about Skillshare. And as part of that, I get free access to the site myself, and I'll be able to give you a link as well. And the first 1,000 people that sign up to that will get a free month of Skillshare, which is quite a long time to learn a new skill and get the feel of it. But I'll talk about it more in the next episode. But I thought what I would do to make it really interesting, because I'm always looking for kind of new ideas and things to keep the podcast interesting and fresh. I'm so hip saying fresh. Was to use it to learn some new crafty skills and then share what I've learned and my progress in those, like whether it's drawing or maybe a bit of cross stitch or embroidery or a new knitting or crochet skill. And there's some teachers on there that I recognise from the knitting and crochet community as well. So I just thought it was a really good fit and really, really interesting. And I'm really excited about it. So I hope you are too. I'm hoping that it's going to just give me a couple of extra interesting things to talk about that I wouldn't have otherwise had the chance to. So stay tuned for the next episode for more news on that. And finally, very, very finally, I've had a lot of questions on both my channels about when am I going to teach Dan to knit. So Dan, my husband, at the beginning of 2020 said that he would like to learn to knit. And then the pandemic hit and we were homeschooling and homeworking and everything just went to pot really. So I said, okay, fine. 2022, I'll teach you to knit. So I just want to give you an update. He's got a project bag. I even bought him a badge to go on the project bag. So he's a proper knitter now. He has needles. He has some DK yarn. And I'm going to cast on a hat for him. And I'm going to do the rib. And then I'm going to set him off going round and round to learn how to do a basic knit stitch. And then teach him how to do decreases. And then he's going to knit another hat, but do the rib. And then he'll be ready to move on to socks, which is what he really wants to be able to knit. So we are ready to go. We just need to find a time slot somewhere for us to sit down and start doing it. So that is the update on #TeachDanToKnit. He loves that, by the way, every time someone says that. So I think that's it. I've probably missed a load of stuff, but I can always cover it next time. My bedroom is covered in projects and things I now need to sort out. So I'm going to go and do that, then make a cup of tea and start editing all this nonsense together. Thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, happy knitting, happy crocheting, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.